David, for being here today. It's an honor to have you.
What a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It is truly, I'm honored that you're here and that you're taking your time out of your busy schedule to be here. I always like to start off with kind of why I chose the people that I chose. And, some people, there's multiple reasons. Um, but I do just try to touch a little bit on that. So David, actually, his team helped one of my very, very, very closest friend's daughter purchase a home I referred them to him. And when it's like you're one of your oldest, longest friends, like that takes the special person to refer to, and they're very picky people, and they had a great experience. They were so happy. The parents, the kid, the daughter, her husband, all of them were super happy. So that is one reason that I chose David to be here today. And I chose David to be the one to help my friends because I asked some of my other closest friends. David, do you know who that was? That
I
referred.
don't remember it. I'm sorry. Tell me.
It was John and Chuck.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. I called John and Chuck out of LA and I asked them who's the right person, and like hands down there was no question, it was absolutely you. And when they saw that you were coming on this today, they sent me emails saying how amazing you are and how this is going to be such a great episode.
Well, this is fun already.
Let's start the day off with feeling good, right?
Yes.
Well, so thank you so much for being here and for taking great care of my people. And let's
Like,
just kick it
our
off
firm
with a,
to us. That's a huge trust thing. So thank you so much.
and it truly is. It truly is, especially for me. So thank you for taking great care of them. And I know that anybody I send your way is going to be well cared for. So tell us just a little bit about your background and how did you get here? I always love to hear the stories of how you got here. And you've been in real estate for 26 years, correct?
26 years, yeah. How I got here is I think most of us get here sort of in unusual ways. But how I got here, I grew up in LA. I was a theater kid. I studied theater at UCLA, and while I was there, I started to work professionally. I was afraid to pursue the arts, so I ended up studying for the LSAT. I was going to go into law. And then while I was right as I was graduating, I got cast in a Broadway show out of an LA audition. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go to New York and live that dream, and then go to law school. It'll be a differentiator on my law school applications. And while I was doing that show, I got cast in another Broadway show, and 10 years sort of went by. 10 years of pursuing what I loved and doing what I loved and working a lot as an actor, making no money, but doing what I loved.
Living your dream.
Living my dream, and somehow I managed to cobble enough money together to buy a studio apartment for $50,000 in the early 90s that when I sort of transitioned out of that world, it sold for 250 and gave me a down payment for the, so I was already sort of experiencing the power of real estate in
Mhm.
my life. And I met my partner husband while I was on a national tour of another show in the Bay Area, and I moved out there and was just lost. I had this massive identity crisis. And I think a lot of people who sort of are in, I noticed this in sports, like we have somebody on our team who is an Olympic rower, and they sort of hit these heights of something that then suddenly ends. And
Yeah.
it's this sort of crashing identity crisis. Like, who am I and what do I do and how do I make money and where do I show up in the world and what do I value? So while I was in the Bay Area, I ended up working for a magazine for a couple of years that was studying that was concentrated on the first wave of the internet economy. And we all sort of remember that dot bust in the year 2000. And this magazine that was this huge publication just suddenly crashed and burned. And so I found myself in 1999 in an office waiting to be laid off. Andrew and I, married now, we're adopting kids out of the foster care system. We're buying our first home in the East Bay, and I don't know what I'm going to do for employment. And the person who sold us our modest house in Alameda, California, the real estate agent was a really good guy. Like I had a low opinion of real estate. I thought real estate agents were sort of used car sales folks, and this guy was really profoundly decent. And I thought, huh, okay, there's no marketing jobs or anything available right now. If there had been like a starting level marketing gig anywhere to be found for, $65,000 a year, I probably would have never found real estate. But I literally thought, okay, this can be like where I park myself on the beach until the economy recovers, maybe I can generate a little bit of income. I can hold my nose and do sales, which was a bad word for me. And lo and behold, I stumbled into this world that is not sales at all. It is advocacy, it is design, it is contracts, it's negotiation, it's changing people's lives. And I discovered I love this. And I had no idea I would love it. And just year after year after year, it just took off. And to the point where Andrew, my husband, quit his job 2 years later and joined me. And just organically over time, we built out a team. We're now up to about 23 folks. We've sold over $3.2 billion of real estate in our area. We didn't know anybody when we got here, so we were at a total deficit. But just brick by brick, we built something. And that's where we are today.
That's a great story. I mean, you really went from like, what an incredible career to be on Broadway. I mean, not that many of us could do it, but who wouldn't want to do that? And
Oh, it was thrilling. It was so fun. And to this day, I'm in New York right now visiting my daughter who lives here now. And it's fun to sort of tap into that community once in a while and see how people are doing. And yeah, it's an exciting, vibrant place to be.
yeah, and to go from that to like, what do I do next? That's a big change.
It was a big change, and but what was surprising to me was how many of the sort of skills I had developed through the theater and through other sort of life experiences that really translated into what we do.
Mhm,
And that's something that you and I were talking about yesterday, Sandra, which is, one of the things you learn in theater is very clearly the art of differentiation.
mhm,
Because it's a grind trying to get a job in theater. And I can't tell you how many waiting rooms or how many stages I stood on or something where you're literally looking around a room or down a line and there's 30, maybe 40 people who look and sound relatively similar to you, and you have to get that one job. Like,
mhm,
you have to stand out from a very similar crowd. And the thing that I've never been intimidated in real estate is differentiation, because we all have our own authentic, completely individual story. There's job interviews happening every day in your area. There's jobs everywhere, and you're competing against one, maybe three people, if any. And so that differentiation piece was just thrilling to me, because like I know how to differentiate, and this is just a world of rich with opportunity. I mean, I
mhm.
think about how much market share we have in our own market, which is quite large. And then I look at the stats, and I have about a 1.5, maybe 2% market share. Like, that's 98% market share available. So like there's just endless opportunity out there if you can figure out how to get people's attention.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about what is the differentiators for you? How are you doing that? I mean, you're running a massive business. Like that, you're not a small team. You're running a huge business, a huge volume, huge commission. So what is it that's setting you apart?
Well, a couple things. First of all, we all have to sort of figure out what our values are, like how we show up in the world, and that's sort of the foundation. And for me, again, I sort of came at this, and know there's so many ways to be successful at this, and everyone is completely unique. But one of the things I just can't or could not do is be solicitous. Like, I'm
Mhm,
not good at like knocking on a door or saying, "Look at me." I mean, I can't be outwardly solicitous. So then
okay.
how are you garnering attention without being solicitous is the thing. And that's part of, in my mind, sort of a high touch relational business, is like getting people, drawing people to you without them having that commission breath, or like, or being turned off by you in some way.
Mhm,
So it's this whole game of figuring out what the consumer values and showing up with the solution, or showing up even without pointing them their nose at it, that you're giving them what they value. So
mhm,
it's about, and every market has that. I think our particular moment right now is AI. But like when I went into the marketplace in the year 2000, like I looked around, and it was as simple things as like the competition wasn't photographing professionally. They weren't presenting homes particularly interesting ways. They were just being really sloppy. So it immediately occurred to me that every one of these listings I'm able to garner, and I was just cobbling together is a pop-up for my brand. So like I just started to brand everywhere I could in terms of making sure that what we were doing was better than anyone else was doing. And there's no amount of postcards I can mail that is equivalent to someone walking into an open house, feeling a warm, welcoming feeling, not feeling like I'm coming at them or trying to figure out like how I can get business out of them, and giving them an experience of a house that is unexpected. And that's
Mhm.
one thing I drill into our team a lot, if I can even sort of shift gears, is like on the listing side, I talk to sellers a lot about like there's three major levers you have that are going to contribute to your success. One is how your house is presented, how it's and in presentation, of course, that means like how it's going to show up photographically, how you're going to curate that story photographically, like what's the creative, how are you going to cut that short film of like what a house looks like online and what stories happening and what sequences is happening and how you're sort of, unrolling that story and knowing, just deeply conscious of the fact that you might have their attention for like a second or two. Like, what are you going to do to grab them? So, presentation of the house, both in terms of the photographic online presentation, but also the experience of walking through it. That's like one
Mhm.
major thing you can control as a seller. The second major thing, which is as important as your presentation, but like presentation, you can spend 4 or 6 or 8 weeks on. One decision is equally as important, which is how are you pricing it?
Mhm.
What's your positioning in the market? Because people are going to look at a price and a picture, and in less than a second, they're going to decide whether or not to engage. And the third thing is like who you hire. Like, what's their brand? What can their brand do for you? And what's their sort of what I describe as conversational excellence? Because
Mhm.
people are going to walk into an open house or they're going to call an agent, and that's an opportunity for you. What is your agent going to do with that opportunity? Because they can either throw kindling on it and create an outcome out of it, or they can diminish it. And we all know those agents you call and they're like short or curt or
Yeah.
unfriendly or and that's them literally harming an interaction on behalf of their client,
Mhm.
or people who are, there's so many ways that we can, within our social behavior, that we can water down an opportunity, or we can pump it up. And I talk about that in our listing appointments. So on the presentation side, am I talking do you have a question about or thought about that, Sandra?
No, I wanted to just say that this is gold. I wanted to just kind of slow it down a little bit from the
Yeah.
standpoint of what you just said. Like if everybody jumped off the Zoom right now and just took those three things, like they got their money's worth today. As you are describing it, my wheels are turning about the conversation that we're having with our sellers. The
Yeah.
way you just described that, if everybody takes that to on their next listing appointment, they will have a very different outcome, I think. So just that small portion you just gave us, total gold if we just implement that.
And let me, I wasn't going to go here, but let me talk about price for a moment.
Okay.
And you may already have this in your in your narrative, but the one thing I emphasize with people all day long is price is not outcome. Price is market positioning. Market positioning.
I'm
So
writing that down.
do not think that your price is your outcome. What we're doing is we're looking at the comps and we're looking at the competition, and I beg people, there's so many times, you go on a listing appointment, they're like, how would you price it? What's my outcome? Okay, you guys, I can't possibly tell you. And one of the things I like to say is like, would you ask your stockbroker like what your Google stock's going to be worth in 2 months? You would think they were crazy if they thought they could tell you. Like the market's so
Right.
dynamic. I can tell you what I think your house is worth right now. Um, Cognizant of the fact that I haven't had it inspected yet. So even if I give you a range right now, it could change based on various circumstances. And people like it when you don't commit because
Mhm.
they hear you're not taking the easy path of trying to please them. You're already demonstrating like expertise. Like I don't know what your house is worth. I don't know enough to tell you, but here's a range based on the data and based on the comps. But at the end of the day, what I want you to do as a seller is I want to pick your price like 2 days before we go on the market. Because I want to give you all the last minute information about what our competition is, how they're pricing. I want to call the agents who are active on the market and say, like, how many showings you're getting, what's the real interest you're getting from this price positioning? Because we need to take the moment we go in and draw attention away from everyone else and onto us. So,
Mhm.
like deciding where we slot in is going to be huge for your success. and how long you sit on the market and the amount of engagement I get. And pricing is also, when I say positioning, it's an opportunity to get my phone to ring. Because if my phone doesn't ring, we're dead in the water. Like
Mhm.
all day long, you can ask me, and I call this needle in a haystack marketing. Like there's all these times that sellers come to you and say, like, have you sent out a postcard? Have you put an ad in this newspaper? Have you all that sort of stuff where we're hunting for buyers is us exhausting ourselves,
Yeah.
not getting anything done. Like if we've presented the property well and we've priced it appropriately, the phone will ring.
Mhm.
If the phone's not ringing and you want us to go out there and hustle, something's going terribly wrong, I think. I mean, there's some
Mhm.
amount of hustling we need to do. We need to network, we need to send out emails, we need to do these sorts of things. But these sorts of like long, like needle in a haystack marketing
Yeah.
efforts that we're
Right.
asked to do drive me crazy. And I've developed a lot of narratives over the years where somebody will say to me like, "Did you take out an ad in the Wall Street Journal?" And I have taken an ad in the Wall Street Journal for somebody who said, "Did you take an ad in the Wall Street Journal?"
Right.
And that ad cost me $1,000. And I said, do me a favor when we do this ad, like I'm gonna anchor the ad with your URL. Like the whole ad's gonna be like a great photo and go to this website and I watched it. Like the ad dropped, and then within the hours and days that followed, the online activity changed not at all.
Mhm. That's amazing. I love that. And that's something that not only did you use that for that seller, that's a story you can use over and over
I
and
used it
over.
over and over again. Yeah. I was like, please don't ask me to spend $1,000 on this ad. Ask me to spend $1,000 with the video I've made of your property, like boosting it into people who are looking for properties in the East Bay. Like
Mhm.
that feels, it's still probably not going to do a lot, but at least I'm going to get to real consumers in their real,
Right.
the ways that they operate. Like I don't, people who are looking for houses, imagine you're going to look for a house. Do you go to the Wall Street Journal and look at ads? Is that what you do?
Don't know.
Behavior? Let's see if I can find a house. I mean, that's so silly.
Yeah.
And these are the things that I also remind the sellers I work with. These are the things that agents do to brand themselves to get other listings. These are not the things we do to sell a house.
Mhm.
So let's not put our money and energy there. Let's put our money and
Right.
energy where consumers live. And really the most important thing we do is that where consumers live, wherever the online platforms are looking, like the photos have to be gorgeous.
Mhm.
Presentation, put your money there. Like make sure the place where people are looking and the things that they care about are just as good as they can be. And that's where success lies. It doesn't lie in all this sort of stuff we throw at it that is
Right.
just me trying to prove to you I'm doing my job.
Right. David, I love your passion. Like you're just oozing passion about real estate and what you're good at. And I love that. So talk to us a little bit about how you prepare the house. Obviously, that's step number one is the house itself has to be prepared properly. Um, you use stagers, you
Yeah.
like, or how involved are you in that process?
Really involved. I mean, kind of somewhat unfortunately, because it's a lot of work, but live in what I describe as the Bay Area is one of many markets that's a very presentation sensitive market.
Okay.
People are very sensitive to how homes look. And where you'll see that data show up more than anything, and this might be an interesting exercise for other markets that stage and whatnot, is if you take the comparables of any given neighborhood. So, and the biggest driver of value, I hope we can all agree, is dollar per square footage. Like that's what appraisers are looking at. They're mostly looking at dollar per square footage within a range.
Mhm.
And if you take any neighborhood and say you're looking at a 2,000 square foot house, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and you sort of put those parameters in my neighborhood, what you'll see is a dollar per square footage range that is somewhere is somewhere around $400 a square foot.
Mhm.
It's really kind of shocking, like anywhere from like $600 a square foot to $1,000 a square foot in certain neighborhoods. So there's these huge
Wow.
parameters. And if you're talking about a 2,000 square foot house, that's an $800,000 range of value.
Right.
So what puts you at the bottom of that range and what puts you at the top of that range? And of course, there's things like, whether you're on a busy street or your floor plan is strange, or, there's things or your inspection findings, all that stuff will already have its impact. But I like to say to people, if our presentation can move the needle just $100 a square foot,
That's a big
that's
number.
that's $200,000. So if we can invest 60, maybe $65,000 in your house to make it more attractive to people, there could be a $200,000 upside, and there is. There really is.
Wow.
So our team usually has about 40 listings that we're preparing at any given time, and slowly and organically I've built out a team knowing that this is how our market works, of project managers and various people. So we're renovating about 40 houses at any given time. Like
Renovating.
re
We're
not
not just staging.
lightly renovating. I mean,
Okay, okay.
we're painting, we're changing counters, we're changing light fixtures. In some
Okay.
cases, we usually have two or three in there where we're really heavily renovating, and then we bring in a general contractor and go into, because we can see, like, this is all based on like the principle of care. Like, you talk to a seller and you ask, what's your goal? And I guarantee you 98% of your sellers are going to say, I want the most money for my house.
Hmm.
And there's all these flippers and all these people who will buy houses with cash, who will gladly buy houses cheap and then renovate them and make the money. And so what I'm trying to do is be that person for them, help them renovate their house and let them make the money.
Hmm.
Because then they win, and the contractor or flipper loses,
Right,
relatively speaking, or doesn't win on this particular house, because I'm sure that
right.
they're winning in plenty of other places. So that's a really compelling argument we do. And I'm sure, I know we're not the only people who do this, but the thing that we do that's differentiating, getting back to that, is I think, and this was not a talent I developed from the get-go. This is years of watching stagers and people do what they do and try to figure out like why that picture is better than that picture, and
Mhm.
why this house is making me feel like I want it more than that house is making me feel like I want it, and
Right.
figuring out like what are the buyers who come into these open houses or I'm showing privately, what are they responding to, what are they not responding to broadly. And over time you start to develop something that's really important, which is a design sensibility. And if you don't have it, find someone to partner with who does have it, because it's really important to have it, to understand proportion and scaling, and how the size of furniture affects the flow of a room, and how art that's properly scaled to a wall affects a photo. Like, all
Hmm.
that stuff really washes over us subconsciously and gives us a feeling of well-being, or a feeling of like, ugh, I don't really like it. Um,
Yeah. I love how you said like you tried to figure out why does one house make me feel a certain way versus another. I don't know that too many people, even probably on this Zoom, have ever really stopped to think about that, like why this house versus that house. I think that's a great suggestion to everybody to really start thinking about that and understanding like what is it that's driving the behavior and the feeling behind it.
there's not one of us I can imagine that hasn't like gone on vacation and pulled up websites and started looking at houses or whatever. Like, we're always
And
curious
we
about
all
that.
do it.
But like the simple exercise of like, which house is attracting my attention and why? Like, if
Yeah.
you not just be attracted to it, but think like, why did this attract my attention? What's happening here? Or is there some manipulation of this presentation that's causing my attention to be drawn towards it? I think
Hmm.
that's really, I think the more you can hone in on that as a marketer or somebody who presents houses, the more impactful you'll be for your sellers.
Hmm. Absolutely. So I'm sure that you run across sellers that are like, I don't want to spend any money. I don't want to get into this. How do you deal
Yeah.
with somebody like that? I think where we are, we're kind of the age of our houses is very different than the age of your houses. So we're really kind of coming into the age of, oh, we've got to start renovating, staging, doing a lot more of that than we ever did before.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have a lot of kind of stubborn sellers that are like, I'm not spending a dollar. So how do you deal with that?
You deal with it, but well, first of all, if they don't want to, I'm good with that. Like, I love selling houses as is. It is so much easier for me.
Okay.
I don't gum up my team with all the work that we have to do. I just need to make sure they're sober about the outcome. So if I don't do all this, I need to show them like, okay, then you're in this slot of houses. Like,
Right.
look at, and I'll show them. I'll put them on a Zoom call. Like, see this house that didn't want to stage. It's their furniture. I don't know how this makes you feel, but look at the outcome. The outcome was like, this one came in here. And
Mhm.
and and we've run the data a lot. And if you run the data in our marketplace, what we found is, and run this data is your friend in these conversations, obviously. Um, what one way we've run the data set, and I explained to them, this is not clear, because is this. We run the comps, that 2,000 square foot, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. We run it on vacant, the category vacant, which probably means painted and staged, but
Hmm.
sometimes it means empty. Not very often, but that empty house actually should water that data down. It should, those outcomes should be watered down because they're not presenting. But vacant means probably painted and staged. Occupied means you're running into the seller's life, and tenant occupied means you're running into a tenant's life.
Yeah, which is
And when
really
you
fun.
run that data, you see a drop of 10% in value between vacant and occupied. 10%. I can
Wow.
show them, which means like that's how sensitive the consumer is to like running into your life and
Hmm.
feeling alienated by all your stuff and how we all live. Like you collect this desk from your grandparent and you got this in college and then I bought this set and then this and we painted this room and then we remodeled this. Like it doesn't have a cohesion that gives you a sense of like, oh, if I buy this house, I could live like this too.
Hmm.
That thing that lifts the irrational mind into paying more than than perhaps it should.
Right.
So we show them the data and we say like, you don't have to play this game, but I want you to understand the consequence of your decision. And or yeah, you like all these comps, all these houses played the game. Like you're not in that comp set because you're not playing the game.
Hmm.
So what do you so
That's a
you're
great way to explain it. Like that really hit home for me. Like I got it.
good, good. Yeah. No, and then also again going showing them the range of opportunity in playing the game.
Hmm.
And we've also figured out ways to finance this for folks, make sure that they don't have to pay for this up front. There's definitely a lot of services out there that can do that. We've even found services that can help them, if needed, like if their budget to do this is $30,000, maybe we find a place that will give them an extra $10,000 so they can go into temporary housing because like the burden of moving and having a place to stay for a while this goes on is terrible for people.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to sound at all cavalier about the burden of this financially. Like that's a hard thing for a lot of people to get over. So you want to find solutions for that sort of argument, and you want to find solutions in them if you truly believe if they invest this money, it will return for them. It will monetize. Like I don't like to spend $1 on someone's house or advise them to spend $1 on their house unless 2.50 or $3 is coming back. And I really have to believe that. And you also have to know which house is going to drive and which houses won't.
Hmm.
For instance, there's houses where the construction value or the inspections are going to be, even if it sort of looks nice enough, if the inspections and the amount of work you have to do under the surface is too large, it won't monetize. Like
Hmm.
no amount of lipstick on a pig or whatever you want to call it is going to, as soon as they see the inspections, they're going to go, oh yeah, yeah, no. So
Right.
it's a moment when we sort of talk to them, not necessarily about spending a lot of money to make it too, really exciting or vibrant or pretty, but like try to, what we described then is like bring it to neutral, like just
Yeah.
fresh and clean. But these inspections are going to undermine overspending. So let's just
Right.
freshen it up and then know that the inspections are going to do and then expect this kind of outcome. Because if we spend $1 and get 90 cents back, I've really done you a disservice.
Right. And that's years and years of experience.
Yeah.
Your history allows you to do that. How, for maybe some of the newer agents on here, where would you suggest that they get started with that? Because they don't necessarily have the history and the data and all of that. So what would you say for somebody new?
I just think I wanted to say like I was new too. Like this builds on itself. Like this is something you learn brick by brick, as I said earlier. Like you just be aware, expand your consciousness, figure out like because understanding consumer psychology and consumer behavior and tastes and trends is part of your job. So
Mhm.
so just expand, open your aperture and expand your consciousness and see. I'm sure every marketplace has somebody who presents homes better than someone else does.
Sure.
Study that person, study their photography, study what they do. Um, and there's so many things that one of the things you could do as a newer agent too. Well, again, a couple things. Invest in your career by making sure that whatever you put out in the world represents the brand you want to be. So like really spend money on the professional photographers and all the things, all the bells and whistles to make sure that this pop-up, once you get that listing opportunity, this pop-up represents you and your brand. And then
Mhm.
also like a simple although I'm surprised at how few people do it, is understanding, again, story and study and analyze story. Study and analyze photography, because photography is a huge visual engagement in your brand.
Mhm.
So again, look at that. Whoever in your marketplace or whoever in the nation is doing this more interestingly, look at the photography they're doing. Look at the angles they're doing. Look at the time of day they photograph. Like those pictures can make or break the emotional engagement in a house.
Yeah.
And you know, I've learned to see things that agents do that drive me a little crazy, and I'm like, please don't do that. You know, like um, a small room with a squared off photo makes the room look small. Find the angle. Like that's going to make the room look larger. Or if you have a room that is small and you have the angle picture, just use the angle picture. Don't then give the squared off picture. Like
Right.
pick the one. If you photograph a house by twilight and daylight, and the twilight is often the more romantic photo, I often see like the twilight photo and then the exact
There
same
we
photo
go.
at daylight, and you've just diminished the romance of the twilight photo. So just use the twilight photo. Don't use the daylight photo also.
Right.
Or understanding your curation, like there's a point where you sort of fall into a docent tour of a house where you sort of say like, okay, this is like we walk in the door and we turn left and here's the living room and then there's the dining room, and that's an appropriate thing. But sometimes if you fall into that sort of docent tour too quickly, you're going to bore your consumer. Like
Hmm.
you can't expect they're going to get to picture 9, which is this fabulous kitchen they did, if the first 8 photos leading up to it aren't that interesting. So just
Right.
again, know like I need my hero image, and maybe the second image is the kitchen because I want them to make sure that if I only have them for 2.5 seconds, I've gotten that to them.
Yep.
And then maybe the backyard, because whatever's special, get it up front so that
Yep.
it's not missed, and then drop into your docent tour. Like those little tricks of the trade can really improve the engagement in your brand. So like if you're a new agent, study that.
Yeah.
Study that.
It's really in the details. It's the tiny little things that make such a big difference.
Absolutely. And there's something that happens over time. It's a time investment, but if your brand consistently shows up, you know, just elevated from your competition, people are going to notice. And that's more impactful than saying like, hey, like me, want me, hire me. Like that's where they come to you because they're noticing something different is happening.
Mhm.
I often, again, going back to sort of the lack of solicitation, one of the examples I use in my career a lot is when our kids got into school, the school immediately says, "Oh, you're a real estate agent. Will you take an ad in the program? You're a real estate agent. Will you support this thing? Will you sponsor?" And I wanted to, but I also wanted to make sure that as I approached these relationships, these peer relationships, they didn't feel like I had an agenda.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I was very like, you know what? Not yet. I need to like get to know these people before I start to come at them as a real estate agent. Because
Hmm.
I want to emerge in their consciousness as a leader and a peer before I start to like solicit them for business. And so you look for these opportunities where someone, you know, casually says to you at a cocktail party, like, "What do you do?" And you say, "Oh, you know, I'm I'm a real estate broker or whatever." And you can see if their eyes deaden or if they say like, "Oh, I'm interested in that." Usually they're like, "Oh God, I'm in, oh gee, why did I?" And or they'll say, "Well, how's the market?" And 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 that's a moment that you have to have a really interesting answer that's unexpected, like
Mhm.
something that and not like not solicitous, but something that shows like I know what the heck I'm doing,
Right.
and I'm not trying to get your business. I'm just going to step back here and be really awesome at what I do and see if you get more curious about me. And those kinds of interactions, especially in a, you know, we ended up going to a private school. Like these were people, and I went to this private school when we didn't have much. We were barely getting by. I don't know how we got through that, but how we got through that is that unexpectedly we ended up selling all these luxury houses to this private school because I slowly emerged as like you got one opportunity which led to 3 which led to 5, and suddenly
Mhm.
by the time they're graduating I'm on the board and like things are happening because we showed up in leadership there, volunteered, did the lice committee, whatever you need to do to get to know people, and like and show up in leadership and get to know people and then eventually then we come in with the ad or start to support the thing because we're sort of established in their minds. Like we're
You're
not,
not just a used car salesman at that point. They know you, they know who you are.
and
Um,
they know we're doing good work. The
right.
first one that bothers to interview or use you, you gotta kick through the goalposts, and then they're all gonna talk. Everyone's gonna talk.
Absolutely. And David, you're definitely very relational. We
Yeah,
had, I was just in Gary Keller's mastermind last week, and there was a lot of conversation about relational versus transactional. And clearly that is your passion. That is where you're coming from, a place of being very relational.
100%. Yeah, that's everything. That's all. I just because I can't do it the other way. I can't do it. I mean, it's a necessary evil, and there's plenty of people who are super, super good at it. I don't like the cold leads. I don't like, and we have one cold lead source, and I'm always like, should I cancel this? Because it's, one, two out of 100 calls,
Yeah.
and the thing is when they do engage, it's so hard to create trust with them. Like they did come to you understanding like what you do and what your value proposition is, and no amount of telling them seems to really well, in some cases, like they're just people who it's really hard for them to value the relationship or value what you do.
Yeah,
Um,
because of the manner that they came to you.
yeah,
And that's a different person. That's not a person looking for a relational,
yeah.
partnership. They're looking for probably, the best commission, the highest money. They're not looking for that partnership.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so investing for me in the relationship side of it, even though it takes longer, but if you weave that into your life in ways that are values aligned and you're doing really good work, it's so gratifying. And around year 5 or so, when the phone just starts ringing, and then it just continues to pick up over time, that's thrilling.
Yeah. Then you've done the right thing. You've built a
Yeah,
really solid base of your business.
it accelerates. And
Yeah.
it accelerates. And that's where team building happens for me, which is like I've discovered in my own life, my biggest foible was trying to expand my team too quickly. Because I think that because I wanted to do more volume, so I thought I'd add more people. And what I found was this sort of cultural rupture when there were too many people around and too many people hungry. And I
Mhm.
realized that what was the beginning of this team is really what I needed to hang on to the whole time, which is you don't add somebody until the reason you're adding them is because you have so much business you can't do it on your own. And then that's a team that continues to grow in a healthy way because everyone's engaged and everyone's busy.
Yeah.
Uh, I got to the point where I had just too many agents, and then I started to have these conversations around like that person got a lead and that one, and how come I'm not? And I brought in and you only gave me, and I was like, I don't want to have these conversations.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah, it's not fun. Yeah, I find it hard to be responsible for other people's careers.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that when I was growing organically when I needed another person because I had too much business or I
Mhm.
needed someone who could do this because I can't do it anymore. That's the kind of growth that I think in a relational business is really healthy.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So going back to the relational side, do you do a lot of events where you are belly to belly with people? Is that something is that part of your program or?
Not often enough, I have to admit, and part of it's just a consequence of being really busy. But when we do events, we try to do them in ways that, to the best of my ability to say that demonstrate values.
Okay.
and and they demonstrate our values and they demonstrate the I think values are a tricky thing because that you have to sort of know who you are in the business world and not deviate from it. And then the second thing is you have to see if you're in alignment with the values of the geography you represent.
Mm-hmm.
And in my geography, um, there is an opportunity for me to be aligned with that geography in ways that are more political than I think a lot of people would be comfortable in
Right.
their particular geographies. And I find that as somebody who has been a bit of an activist in my life, like I sometimes will put events out there that some people would think were too hot or too political, but then I'll endorse a candidate or do a fundraiser for them or something. And I'm willing to do that because I think it shows authenticity, and it shows how I show up in my community in a way that is again differentiating, because people are like, that person believes in something.
Mhm.
And I think people want to feel your belief. And there's places where that's completely not appropriate, or things like that. But that's something I try to do, something that matters to me. And I
Yeah.
think that passion and that commitment to something resonates for people.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's not just about you, it's about your beliefs and your
Something
values.
bigger. Yeah. And I mean, there's plenty of gorgeous ways that are completely apolitical to do that, in terms of like food banks or pet shelters or whatever. Like there's so many ways to show up in the world with the passions that you have in your soul, and really, really put them out there. It makes me I remember this woman asked to join their team, and we had some conversations, and she was from another area, and she said, like, I'm an animal rights activist, and I was always afraid to tell people that, because my broker told me that might be controversial. I'm like, controversial that you like that love animals and want to take care of them? Like, I
Right.
I don't think that's that controversial. And you're excited about it, you're passionate about it. Like, put it out there. Like, there's other people who feel the way you feel, and they're going to be attracted to you because they feel in alignment with you. Like, go
Mhm.
for it. And she was like, "Oh, thank you for saying that." I'm like, I don't know why. I hope I'm not the first person that's ever said that to you. Like, you be you. That's the whole point of this thing, is like authenticity rings. People are attracted to charisma and passion and authenticity, and caring about something. So go out there and care, and someone's going to be attracted to you.
Well, you definitely care. You're like oozing the passion and the caring, and I absolutely love that about you.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. Thanks. Just living a life.
Just living a life. I love it. Did you want to show some pictures of your properties?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, like, one of the things that we do presentation wise, and I like sometimes I like to. uh, There was an article in the San Francisco Chronicle a few years ago about how staging was becoming sort of a necessary thing, and they interviewed three stagers, and I absolutely loved this article, because I think they got it completely wrong in my mind, which is to say that all the stagers said it needs to be neutral, it needs to be safe, it needs to appeal to the broadest audience. And I was like, oh, that's so wrong. There are instances where it should be neutral and safe, but there's a lot of instances where it should not be neutral and safe. I really believe that presentation, again, is an opportunity to differentiate. And you have to, we work with about five different stagers, but you have to do it in a way that, of course, honors the architecture and honors who the likely audience for that piece, for that house
Right.
is. But we like to stage in ways that are bolder, that are more colorful, that are more splashy. And the reason we've gotten more and more confident about this is you can see the online views. And as soon as we start to use more color and more art, more scaling and more drama, the views just rise. And you can absolutely see the engagement. And so I like, someone on our team once said, and I valued what they said. She said our staging isn't literal. It's not about like telling people how to live in a house. It's giving
Right.
them permission to dream. And I was like,
Oh,
oh
wow.
boy, I
I just
love
got the
that.
chills. You just gave me the chills with that one.
Just love. Okay, sharing's not turned on, so let me ask for it. And I'll give you some examples. Like, we know how to do safe and luxe staging. We do it all the time. But I'm going to show you some wild stuff we've done. Here, I'll do one that's sort of sophisticated. So this is whoopsie. That's not the one I wanted to share with you. Why did it take me there? Well, maybe I'll show you a wild one. Maybe we don't have much time. Here, this is one I can show you. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yep.
So this is a John Hudson Thomas house, which is an architecturally significant house, but it had a lot wrong with it. Like, it was really, it had a lot of problems, including like a kitchen that was mid-century and a bathroom that was mid-century, which was completely a disconnect from the architecture of the house. But you can see this is just really romantic and really stately in Berkeley. And we could have sort of backed off the architecture a little bit and just gone really neutral and white and luxe, but we decided, like, let's go with this sort of like Berkeley bohemian vibe, and just like, and because so many of our clients are like younger and in tech and sort of into more modern, like, let's be a little more crazy with this one. And the craziness might pull some attention away from the clunky finishes in the kitchen and bathroom. So here's some of what we did here. So you can see that I wanted to go immediately in the curation here. Like that's a beautiful photo, but I wanted them to see all the architecture really fast. So we go here and some of the openness of the space. So we pop over to the dining room and immediately into the backyard because this backyard is a place you definitely want to hang out with these lovely romantic.
So I'm not sure that we're seeing what you're seeing.
Oh no! What
Yes,
are you seeing?
we see half of outside of a house and then like the top part of a staircase.
That's not good. Now?
We see the outside of 800.
Yep, that's it. So this is
Okay.
the architecture, like I was saying,
Okay.
and then this is the dining room. So we immediately popped into the dining room to show all those windows and
Yeah.
that
So
beam.
now we don't, I'm sorry, we don't see the dining room.
Oh no! Okay, this
We
is not
just,
working.
we're still on the
Not,
outside.
not seeing me scroll.
Nope,
That's
it's
why it's
not
not working.
scrolling.
All right, well, I'll send you a link. I'll put a link in the chat or something. And then you can go look. I'm sorry, it sounds like the share is not working.
That's okay. That's okay. And we're going to share your information in the chat anyway, so that people can connect with you when they have referrals for you. So we can put that in the chat and they can also go to your website and check it out.
Sure, great. Thank you.
But
All
still
right.
tell the story, David,
Oh,
of the house and how you went about it, because that says a lot.
Oh, well, so well, what we do a lot is we use a lot of I don't know if this is what you meant, Karen, but like we use a lot of very large scaled art, especially on big walls.
I
Uh,
remember that,
there was
yes.
even a moment when our stager arrived and she forgot to bring a headboard and she couldn't, and she was like, "Oh, no, 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 I'm all out of headboards." I'm like, "Well, you got to have a headboard." And she literally ended up putting this large canvas up against the wall and then putting pillows. And it created this like headboard of art and it created all this drama in the photos. And she was like, "I'm going to do that from now on." And she's been doing it ever since.
wow.
So, it just I want to what we're conscious of is people are looking more and more at these things on these tiny little screens. And if the art and the furnishings are just creating something in that tiny little square that catch your eye, you're going to stop and you're going to start to scroll.
Mhm.
So when it's appropriate, be bold. Like don't be too safe. We usually paint things into like a neutral white, and of course that trend may change. Color seems to be trying to come back in. But get the space to where you can just create more of a fantasy. What she also does is one of the things I'm very proud of is we'll take spaces that we associate with utility and try to build out living stories in them. It's if there's a driveway and a big garage, especially in a smaller house, we'll sheetrock the garage and paint it all, and then make it a rumpus room and stage it with a foosball table and couches and art.
Oh,
And suddenly, that person will feel like they have another 300 square feet available to them.
mhm.
Or there's nothing more exciting than a shed in a backyard and painting that and sheetrocking it and then putting a desk and a chair and or a guitar in the corner because this is where I'm going to go and hang out and play my guitar. Or what I was going to show you about that one particular house on Shattuck is they had this whole basement area with all these multiple rooms. So we sort of left it a basement. We painted as much of it white as we could, but there was this workbench. So we put like spokes and wheels of bicycles on it. So you could imagine like this is your bike area, and here's your foosball area, and a canvas, and here's your art area, and here's where you might exercise. Like taking a throwaway basement area, getting as much life into it as possible, and then getting the imagination to see the expansion potential of it. Like it is so easy to paint a garage, to paint the floor and paint the walls, but then like throwing some furniture in there, or sometimes the laundry's in the garage and like it feels depressing to go in there and do your laundry. But if you painted the floor and painted the walls and put a few couches in there, suddenly it feels like a finished room and your experience of the house is going to lift.
Right.
It's not going to feel like, ugh, I have to go do laundry out here where it's so dank. Like, oh, I can go out here in this bright, cheery space that cost me so little money to paint so that I could get the sort of trick of the imagination.
Right. And it feels clean and fresh. It
And
doesn't
clean,
feel.
fresh. So find those bonus spaces and play with them. Like our stager, if there's sometimes there's like a storage area under a staircase, like a Harry Potter room, or like there's just a little cubby somewhere that that if you were a kid, you'd like crawl in there and it'd be your
Yeah.
clubhouse. So we'll take an area like that and turn it into a clubhouse. Like we'll put a couple little poofs in they'll put stuffed animals or they'll put
Uh-huh.
like small scaled furniture in there and we'll literally create a kids clubhouse. Because I
How
can tell you
fun.
that like if they open that thing and they see like they're at an open house with their parents, they're going to be tugging on their parents' sleeve saying, I want this one. Let's buy this
Absolutely.
house.
That's brilliant. I love that.
So just think creatively and think about like all the people and all their psychologies and all their emotions and how you can and the parents are going to smile when they open that cubby. They're going to think, "Oh, I want my kid to have that as their clubhouse."
Hmm.
Like that's going to create more engagement just because you took the time to be creative.
Yeah,
And
that's creating that emotion. Like that's what's differentiating that house. And you feel like you can see your kids enjoying it and the happiness, and you can hear the laughter even if they're not with you.
marketing is happiness. You market to a sense of well-being and to a sense of happiness. And if somebody walks through your open house and has an unexpected smile, or our stager, and I love her, she's crazy and she's wild and creative and crazy. She has like an oil painting of Christopher Walken. She will take violins she finds at thrift stores and like spray paint them like hot pink and anchor them on a wall and then create a whole room around like this. I see this as a young teenage girl who plays violin and she likes her, she'll just like create these crazy spaces that people come in and they just find themselves like laughing.
Mm.
And believe me, if they've seen six houses that day and they're in their car trying to remember all the houses they saw, they're going to remember yours.
Right. Absolutely. You ever the house with the pink violins?
Exactly. Something
Yeah.
crazy like that. Just something, an element that makes them remember.
Yeah. I
Don't
love
be
it.
shy. Don't be too shy. In some houses, you can't do it 100%. Some houses are not, and some consumers won't take the ride with you. But it's, again, brick by brick, realizing that this works and that it has an impact. You can start to play with it a little bit more and then confidently explain to people what it's doing, and they'll feel it themselves. Again, if someone walks into your open house and they're thinking about selling in a year or 2 or 3 years, and they're seeing and feeling something different in your house, you're going to get an interview.
Hmm. I love it. I want to open it up to some questions. If anybody has a question, we might have some in the chat. Anybody have any questions? I want to give you that opportunity because this is gold. This is pure gold here. So take the opportunity to ask David some questions. Um, Otherwise, I will keep asking. I'm looking to see.
I have a question.
Hey,
Go
Julie.
ahead.
Hi, and sorry, let me turn my video on. I had put in the chat, what do you actually invest in yourself as the realtor? Do you pay for any of the staging? Do you pay for any of the renovations? Is that all paid by your seller?
Um, where I invest in the seller, and I tell them this in the listing appointment, is I have in my employee, excuse me, 3 project managers whose salaries I pay. I am going to lend you out of my own corporation $50,000, and I'm going to have no financial incentive in this at all, or whatever it is.
So no
So,
interest or
so the salaries of these people cost me about $9,000 a listing for you to have a staff to get your house ready for sale, and the $50,000 I'm going to lend you is free to you, and I could be making money on that money. So I am investing. That is active investment in your process.
Mhm.
The fact that I'm employing people and I'm not, and there are people in my marketplace that do this as well, but they have to hire third-party vendors to do it, and those third-party vendors upcharge 20 to 30% anytime somebody walks in their house. And I'm saying like I'm helping you avoid that upcharge. So
Yeah.
but I will say that like once in a while someone says it's a shell game. If somebody wants me to pay for staging, which I normally don't pay for, I'll do it, but I'll charge you 3.5% commission or whatever.
Mhm.
And then it's a shell
Okay.
game. Although I don't love that dynamic because there's always a chance you stage the house and it doesn't sell. And if you've paid for it, you're out that money if it doesn't sell. The 3.5% relies on the fact that it sells. So you have to be
Yeah.
confident it's going to sell. Because I've seen plenty of people pay for staging and then get stuck paying a bill that's really awful if you go backwards that much.
Mhm.
I try to build the value for them so they understand like this is not costing you money and you don't have to do this. this is making you money. Like whenever they say like, I don't want to spend $10,000, I don't say it this glibly, but what I try to find a way to say like, no, it's not that you don't want to spend $10,000, it's that you don't want to make $25,000.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because that's what's happening here. You're investing in something that's going to monetize. So this is good for you.
Hmm.
And I'm happy to arrange all that for you and help you get there, which is valuable too. Like I'm not going to pay for it. Like I'm not that invested in you. I could go backwards doing that. But I can
Hmm.
show you with all this experience, like how if you spend $10,000, you're gonna make an extra $15,000. So like why would you not want to do that? And if you don't want to do it, if you don't believe in it, let's not do it. But just again, expect your outcome to be here among the houses that didn't do it.
So when you are loaning them 50,000, you already have your other people on salary, your contractors on salary. Have you had it where the home did not sell? And then how do you deal with what you've lent them for materials and all of that for renovation?
Great question. I have developed, and this is the lawyers won't want to hear me say this. I've developed a promissory note that they sign that says like this is free until the listing is canceled, withdrawn, expires, and then it turns into a hard money loan. So like it's free until we're not working together anymore, in which case it starts to collect really expensive interest, and and um and which incentivizes you to pay me back. And usually they can understand, like, obviously, I'm not here to give you money for free or renovate your house for free. Like, that's crazy. And I have had no trouble with people reimbursing me.
Okay.
And in cases where the loan starts to get kind of high, and you have to make sure there's plenty of equity in the house too. You don't want to lend money to people who are really, really struggling with their equity. So check how much is owed before if you think about doing this. But if the loan starts to get, or the fronting of money, it's not really a loan, it's fronting money. If the fronting of money starts to get too expensive, I will ask them to record it
Okay.
just to protect it. Or if something just feels off or there's family conflict, record it.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank
I have a question for David, if whenever you're done, Julie.
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, David.
Hi.
This is Shardul. I actually work in the peninsula, the other side,
Hi, Sandra.
and I see your listings a lot. I just don't serve Oakland, so unfortunately, I don't work with you. But I would love to work with you once.
Awesome.
Um, Yeah, but I wanted to ask you two questions. One is, do you do contingent sale where the seller the seller is staying in the home and he's looking to buy another property, but he wouldn't move out until he finds the property? So in that situation where you know that a contingent sale in the current market will be very hard, do you pay for some kind of temporary housing for these people? So yeah.
Yeah, contingent sales are near impossible, so I try to avoid those entirely. And we have paid for people. I mean, this whole thing was born out of like sitting across from someone and knowing that if they spent $10,000 in staging, they'd make $25,000, and then looking at me and saying, "I don't have $10,000," and I was like, "Oh, I have $10,000. I could really help this person." And so when I find there's a feeling of wanting to really help them and it's not financially risky for me, I'll do whatever. I mean, I've collected money to try to help people. And if this person needs some money to like put a down payment on a facility where they want to age out and they don't have that right now in order to sell their house, I'll do it because I can protect the money and I can help them get over that obstacle. So if that's the obstacle and I feel like the money's safe, yeah, I'll do it.
But so if they are looking to buy another house, right, and you are willing to pay the down payment to get that house before they sell that house.
Not a down payment on a house. That's too much money. That would be a bridge loan, and I'd put them with all the various bridge lenders we have.
Okay, so I guess so then what you're trying to say is that you arrange funds for a temporary accommodation till the time you can sell the house.
I could do that. I haven't done that much, but I've done that a couple times, like paid their rent for a couple months on temporary housing. Yeah.
David,
I see.
you are a very, very astute businessman, relational, passionate person, and I want to be respectful of your time and everybody else's time. We've hit the 12 o'clock number. We have shared your information with everybody, so if they have referrals for you, they can send them your way.
Awesome.
And I think that we can get off this call today knowing that you've changed lives today, because you I think
Oh,
you're very impactful. And I know I've got a few things that I'm going to implement. And so I appreciate you and thank you so much for doing this.
thanks a ton, you guys. I hope something was helpful.
David, thank you.
Absolutely.
Sandra,
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye,
All
y'all.
right. Thank you everybody for being here. Take care.
Aloha.